So let's have some fun. We have a fun topic. We're going to talk today about how all of us can become digital data heroes. So first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a digital psychologist. Have you heard about this title? No? Oh, I'm seeing no's around in the crowd. So let me tell you what I do. I combine a few disciplines. I take cognitive psychology, behavioral economics, combined with big data and machine learning to derive business value for enterprises and to improve the experiences of millions of end users. And that's what I'm most excited about. And I work at Quanta Metric, which is an amazing lab for me. I'm like a kid in a candy store because it's a data intelligence platform that collects every month digital experiences of almost 300,000 sessions a month. That is 1 in every 9 people that goes online through these global enterprises. We also have amazing partners that back us, like Insight Ventures and Bain Capital, and inspiring business leaders that serve on our board, like John Chambers. And together we all think about the best ways to use data to uncover meaningful people insights to drive business value. So let me tell you a little bit about my personal story. It started a good few years ago with my first ever analysis project for a huge tech company that asked me a very tiny question: why conversion on our website is down? And I was literally snowed in my apartment with all of this, immense amount of data trying to figure this question out. And that is how I felt. I felt at the bottom of the ocean. Has anyone else felt this way? Trying to analyze data? See a few brave souls here? Thank you. I'm sure more of us have felt that. But while I was there at the bottom of the ocean struggling a little bit, I also felt the immense potential of the data that I had access to. I felt that all the secrets of human behavior are just there, lying, waiting for me to uncover them. And after a few days, I was able to surface at sea level, deliver my insights, and they actually were well received and had an impact on the bottom line. And that made me feel like a superhero, at least for a day. And what does it mean to feel a superhero at your work? It means that you are acknowledged for your work and that you have a sense of meaning in what you do, that there's a greater cause that you serve every day. And then after that day, every time that I was at the bottom of the ocean with a new analysis, and believe me, it happens a lot still to this day, right? This feeling motivated me. And it turns out that I wasn't alone in appreciating meaning and acknowledgement at work. So let's look at a little psychological experiment that proved the power of these concepts. So researchers gave participants a task. You have to match 2 sheets of paper with these scrambled words on them that were nearly identical. So very boring, mundane task. And they were paid 55 cents for the first pair they matched, but 5 cents less for every additional pair. So money is not a motivator in this task. They're actually paid less the more they work, okay? There were 3 conditions in this experiment. One was called the acknowledgement condition. Participants write their name on their work, hand it to the experimenter. Experimenter takes it, looks at it, says, aha, puts it on the side. Second condition, the ignored one. The experimenter takes the work, says nothing, puts it on the side. Third condition, the shredded condition. The experimenter takes their sheet of paper, shreds it right there and then in front of their eyes. So what do you think? What was the impact on how much people were willing to work? So rather unsurprisingly, people in the acknowledged condition were willing to work more for less pay. So this tells us that money is not the only motivation. Feeling, meaning, and acknowledgement is the real motivation here, right? But what about the ignored condition? Was it closer to the acknowledged one? Was it somewhere in the middle? What do you guys think? What? I can't exactly hear you, but let's reveal it. So ignoring someone's work is almost as bad as shredding it. Okay? So now we have some scientific basis that tells us that feeling acknowledged and feeling that your work is meaningful can actually make our work much better for us. But as people that work with data, there are quite a few challenges on our way there, right? Because there is no map to the bottom of the ocean. Of course, as we go along, as we have more experience, we all build our own maps. But a systematic approach is missing. And businesses, excuse me, this went, did I click on it while I was talking? Sorry. So businesses actually talk about this. Every 1 in 3 executive says that people are actually the key to extracting the most value from data. But at the same time, more than half of the companies also in the survey say that they have a digital talent gap. They don't have the people to get all those valuable insights from the data, right? And additionally, they also say that this lack of digital talent hampers their efforts towards digital transformation, which of course we all know how crucial it is. So what's to blame? At part, there is also a digital training gap. So although companies say that, hey, we're missing data talent, most of them also admit that it's not a strategic imperative to improve that. They don't have enough data training programs. And that's not surprising that more than half of their employees say that the data training programs they have are boring and completely useless. And here's the kicker. Those who are data talented, almost 60% of them actually take matter into their own devices and invest their own time, their own money to become more data skilled. And that is the group that I want to talk to you today about. That is the group that I'm so fascinated and curious about. What do they do differently than most of us that gives them those data superhero moments in their life? And while I was working at Quanta Metric, I started hearing a lot about data hero stories. One of them begins in Costa Rica. This risk analyst working for a financial institution were actually able to recover millions of dollars for their organization because they identified a very complex fraudulent activity that looked like human activity, but they were able to spot it. And that got them a promotion to manage the entire risk group at the HQ, headquarters of this company in the US. So this is a real story. And I kept hearing more and more of these stories. And this is a map of digital heroes according to Quanta Metric, that these are professionals that are using a platform to uncover insights for their end users and actually recovering millions of dollars for their organizations. So I decided to research them and to go again to the bottom of the ocean just for you guys to tell you what is so special about them. So I had ample data, right? Again, kid in a candy store, remember. Was really curious to look at all of this data. So these are sessions. What do I mean when I say sessions? Over 90,000 sessions. These are people in organizations, retailers, hospitality, travel, banking, analysts, people from product teams, people from UX teams, IT, fraud. They are looking at this platform, data intelligence platform, trying to uncover insights of people using their own websites and apps. So this is a little bit meta. This is me analyzing them, analyzing their customers. Make sense? Awesome. So let's start with a basic question. How many data heroes are out there? What do you think in percent? Those who are able to use the data in an amazing way to uncover millions of dollars. Only 15%. So how did I arrive at this number? There is a data hero score that I created that is composite of many different behaviors that are unique to data heroes. And we will look at these behaviors soon. And what I hope is that once we are done with looking at what makes them so special, we will be able to increase that number, at least across the industry, to be a little bit higher and to allow more of you to feel those superhero moments at work. So are you ready to embark on this journey? Because it's a journey. There's a hero's journey here. Okay? And it starts with the average Joe, just you and I. And at the beginning, the hero doesn't know that he's a hero, has no idea what is going to happen. But a need arises. And that need is typically external. Someone else has a need, right, that hero has to accomplish. And in our world, that's typically, hey, go dig in that data, find me millions of dollars. That's typically what organizations want to do, right? And they send us on this journey. Often they buy very fancy programs, but as we said, they don't train us on them. And they say, okay, here you go ahead, right? And at this stage of the journey, many heroes resist the journey. They feel that they're inadequate, they're anxious about going on the journey, right? Because the journey takes them from the order into chaos. This is the entrance into the bottom of the ocean, and no one wants to go there. Believe me, it's not fun, right? Think about famous heroes, Moses, Harry Potter. They all resisted the journey at first, okay? And data also shows us from surveys that almost half of the digital professionals feel anxious about starting an analysis. But alas, we must go, right? Have to proceed. So these two steps, the search and find, are the most crucial, critical parts of the journey where the data heroes shine and where we see the differences. So what I was expecting to find was, of course, differences in analytical skills. Makes sense, right? And I did find them, and we're going to talk about them. But what I didn't expect to find was also differences in character skills, what we can also call the soft skills. And that was a surprise to me personally, but apparently, as we see in the survey data, businesses are talking about that, right? That their employees missing important soft skills to perform analysis correctly. And we're going to dive soon into both of them. So let's start with the analytical skills. What tells the data heroes apart? So what you see in here is actually a difference in likelihood of each group, the heroes, versus the basic users to engage in different analytical activities. So one of the bigger differences is that the heroes, they use complex behavioral segmentations. They ask the data very precise questions. They look at very narrow segments. Okay? They know what they are looking for. They also are much more likely to look at journey metrics. They're thinking about their customers in a context, in a holistic way. They are looking at where they come into the site, where they're going. Are they using site nav? Are they searching for something? They're not just looking at a concrete error that happened in one field on a page. They're not looking at it from a siloed perspective. They're tying everything together. They're also more likely to engage in top-down analysis. I can see that because I see their queries, what they're asking the system. And that also relates to them asking complex questions. They're coming to the data and they know what they want to look for. And that's very, very helpful when you're at the bottom of the ocean. I personally find this tactic very helpful because it's so easy to feel inundated and buried in all of that data. So before you even see anything, you have to come up with hypotheses. And lastly, they also, what I call an analysis funnel depth. They are much more likely to take a thread of an insight and chase it down, check it from many different angles. In Quanta Metric, we have funnels, we have session replay, we have heat maps, we have different reports. So they are much more likely to test the same thing from all of these angles. And the basic users, they watch a replay, they look at a heat map, look at one interaction, it's not there, they leave it. And that's why they miss a lot of gold while they're doing that. So let's look at the soft skills, at the character skills, which I find fascinating as a psychologist. right? So one of the main things that differentiates data heroes is their ability to overcome frustration and adversity during the analysis phase. So while they're at the most difficult area of the chaos, the bottom of the ocean, they're able to overcome. And how do I know this? In Quanta Metric, we have metrics that detect frustration, rage click, and while creating a composite score of all of that, we can actually see that the data heroes are more likely to experience frustration. They're rage clicking within the software, like going this. They're annoyed, but they continue, okay? That funnel, that deep funnel, they're experiencing frustration, but it's okay. I mean, maybe they go have a coffee, talk to a colleague, but then they continue. And the basic users, that's where they start leaving, okay? And it's a massive difference. They also much more likely to take risks. How do we know that? We have a metric in Quantum that's called a wild card. That's a query that it's a little bit wild, okay? So the system says, I can run this, but hey, you have to take control, because I'm not sure what exactly it is that you're looking for, but go ahead. I mean, I won't stop you. And they're much more likely to run these wildcard queries in the system. They're also more likely to hit an invalid search, an invalid query, because they're trying, right? They're taking risks. Hey, let's try to combine these weird things, these complex behavioral metrics. Let's put them all together. And it's okay. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll do something else, and I'll try again. And lastly, they much more engaged in teamwork and in sharing, right? They're sharing a dashboard, they're sharing a customer replay, they're sharing a customer heat map. They're also more likely to create a shared dashboard after they found an insight. They can also create a private one. So the basic users, they're more likely to create a private dashboard. Okay, they want to keep it to themselves. But the heroes, they want to evangelize. The insights belong to everyone. Right, I found it, but let's all work together to drive change. Okay, so great. So you would think that the journey ends here. I found the insights. Amazing. That's done, right? But I think that most of you know that this is a beginning of another little battle. You have to evangelize your insights. You have to communicate them. You have to explain to your team why are they important. Basically, you have to sell your stuff, right? We're all selling what we believe in all the time. So this is another area where the data heroes excel at communicating and evangelizing the results. They're not creating very complex decks with all of these huge charts that no one can understand. They can communicate the results of their analysis in very simple, plain English and easy to understand visualizations. And we can see actual change that is resulting from these types of behaviors. And these are real customer quotes, okay? People talking about millions of dollars recovered to their organizations. And I'm sure that must have made them feel pretty good, because where everything is tied back together is when we talk about coming back a full circle to you, right? And that's where we hear people say things like, not to sound too selfish, right? But I found the personal value of this immediately. And then after they saw the personal value, they were able, to sprinkle that across their organization. There were ripple effects to this personal value because they felt better about their workplace and now they wanted to give back. So just to tie it all together, can you hear it? So it's just a snippet of a David Bowie song about that we can all be heroes, at least just for one day. And this is, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to click it. I click it all the time. You can grab this diagram at our booth. It's available for everyone. We printed this guy out. Booth number 633, Quanta Metric booth. And this is a consolidation of everything I talked to you guys about, right? With the character being the basis. As a psychologist, I have to put the character as the basis of all of it. And if you're a risk taker, if you're able to overcome adversity, if you're resilient, if you're a communicator, I think this is the 80% of what you need, right? Then you also have to have a very good process. You have to continue to iterate on your insights. This one didn't work, it's okay. I'm going to chase another thought. I'm going to chase another thought, another hypothesis. You have to go deep in your analysis. Remember that deep analysis funnel. Check the same thing from many different angles. Try to reverse it. When you're working with your team, you have to collaborate to drive change. You will never recover millions of dollars for anyone, not for your business or for any other business, if you're not working together, right? And at the top, you have all the phases of the analysis, starting with the hypothesis, which is crucial. From my experience, if you're coming bottom up and not top down to your data, you're probably just going to drown there at the bottom of the ocean. We don't want that to happen, right? Then you have to segment your population. Look at them very narrowly. Think about them in a context. What do they want to do? They're people, just like all of us, right? Of course, it is important to quantify. We're in the business world. We want to know how often an issue is happening. And then, that's where the character skills, again, coming up, where you have to communicate your results, to monetize them, and to drive the change to your company. Thank you very much.